order. Roll call.
Chairman Smith. Mrs. Black.
Here.
Mr. Connor.
Key.
Mr. Doherty.
Here.
Mr. Groom.
Here.
Mrs. Haddon.
Here.
Mrs. Jones.
Present.
Mr. Keene.
Who's Keenan?
He's on the phone.
Oh, he here, but he on the phone.
Mrs. Schaefer.
Here.
Mr. Slater.
Here.
Mrs. Thomas.
Here.
Superintendent Dr. Robertson.
Here.
Okay, next we have the approval of the agenda. Oh, that's right. Hold, please. Next, we'll have the pledge to the flag and meditation by Melanie Commander, principal of Rivermont Elementary School. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Right.
You ready?
I'm ready. Yes.
I wasn't sure. Some people say something before, so that's why I was gonna give you.
Oh, I was told to pledge first, then
You
say.
good. However you want to do it.
Okay. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, members of the school board, colleagues, and community members. As we gather tonight, I want to offer a brief reflection rooted in summer and the sea. As I begin my new journey as the principal at Rivermont Elementary, I found myself reflecting on a symbol that captures both the wonder of nature and the promise of transformation, the nautilus shell. For many of us, the nautilus brings the mind of summer days, walks along the beach, collecting shells, the salty breeze, and the excitement of discovery. Its spiraled form, smooth and intricate, feels timeless, something ancient we can hold in our hands. It's a reminder of joy, curiosity, and the quiet rhythm of the waves. Experiences that ground us, even as they invite us to dream. But the nautilus is more than just a beautiful shell. It's a living metaphor. As it grows, the nautilus doesn't discard its old chambers. Instead, it builds upon them, creating ever-winding spirals, each room a record of where it's been, each one making space for where it's going. In the same way, our work in education is both rooted and reaching. We honor the past, the people and principles that brought us here, and we expand into new ideas, new challenges, new partnerships. Each school year is like a new chamber we construct together with care, intention, and hope. As a new principal, I think of our work like the shell. We don't discard what came before, we grow from it, expanding chamber by chamber, always learning, always evolving. I begin this journey not from scratch, but from strength, from tradition, trust, and possibility. And so I leave you with the final lines of a poem by Oliver Wendell Holmes, The Chambered Nautilus. Build thee more stately mansions, O my soul. As the swift seasons roll, leave thy low vaulted past, let each new temple, nobler than the last, shut thee from heaven from a dome more vast, till thou art length are free, leaving thine outgrown shell by life's unresting sea. So as we gather tonight enjoying summer, extra time with family, rest and reflection, I invite us to carry that spirit of exploration forward. Let's remember that we're not starting from scratch, but building on something strong. Together, we're shaping the next spiral of life in our schools and the lives of our students and families we serve. I can't wait to begin this journey with imagination, gratitude, boldness, one chamber at a time.
Thank you.
We need to approve the agenda.
Greeting, distinguished members of the board. We are here for Exemplar tonight. We're going to recognize Coach Norma Nelson from District 7, East Hamilton High School. Have Coach Nelson here to my right, Principal Brent Eller, and their athletic AP, Mr. Keith Booker. So tonight we're here to celebrate a milestone in coaching. I'll give you a little background. I coached for 31 years on the sideline. Coach Nelson might have a year or two on me, but to kind of put things in perspective to you, I think my career wins were around 89, 90, somewhere like that. Coach Nelson has had 900 wins
Oh, wow.
in her career. So I'd like to read a little bit about her. Coach Nelson is a 1982 graduate and classmate of mine, proud Pioneer. She went on to, that's East Ridge High School for the people that don't know who the Pioneers are. She went on to Cleveland State Community College, graduated from there, and went on to UTC and got her degree in '88. She was a standout softball player at East Ridge High School and at Cleveland State. She quickly transitioned into education, dedicated actually the past 36 years in education, Norma. Just thank you so much for everything you've done. Throughout her distinguished coaching career, Coach Nelson has achieved, of course, her 900 wins. Her teams have earned 1 state championship, 4 state runner-ups, and numerous district and region titles. Her outstanding contributions to the sport have earned her induction into the USA Softball Hall of Fame for the state of Tennessee, the Cleveland State Community College Hall of Fame, and most recently the East Ridge High School Hall of Fame. She's also a 2024 recipient of the A.F. Bridges Female Coach of the Year. So Coach Nelson exemplifies the very best that Hamilton County Schools has to offer. She is talented, dedicated, and passionate about helping young people succeed both on the field and outside the classroom, or in the classroom, excuse me. Coach Nelson, you are a true Hamilton County pioneer in female sports. We are proud of you, and we celebrate your incredible achievement of 900 wins tonight. So everybody enjoy me and just giving a wholehearted round of applause. Dr. Robertson, Ms. Schaefer, get you guys up here for a quick picture.
Once again. Congratulations.
You're like totally awesome.
So our chair had to excuse himself. Y'all know Joe is all things to the youth of our area, and he has to travel to retrieve some children, well, not retrieve, to go and pick up some children that have been at camp all week. He's traveling to go and pick them up to bring them back home to their families, and so he had to step out tonight, and I have the honor of leading this meeting. And with that, I have the honor of recognizing a young man who I can't remember not knowing him since I've been on the school board, or getting on his nerves, or aggravating him, or asking him a question about something technology-wise here in this space. That young man is none other than Mr. David McNish. David, stand up, David. David has served Hamilton County Schools for quite a while and has earned what I like to call his time to walk away and get 6 Saturdays and a Sunday. And so David is retiring from Hamilton County Schools, but I want to say on behalf of the board here at Hamilton County, thank you, David, for all that you are and have been to us over, I'll say for me, over the past 11 years, but of course of everybody else as they've been here. David is always just one walk away, one text away, one step away from helping us figure out why our screens are blinking, or why we can't get into the Wi-Fi, or what's going on with our laptops. And so we want to say thank you, and we have something for you. we want to say, enjoy, watch us when you get one of those Saturdays, okay? On a Thursday. Yes, sir. You too. You have to watch it. But thank you
If
so
you're
much.
watching those, we're gonna have problems.
We might be the next reality TV for David. But thank you for everything that you have done for us here in the boardroom, okay? Thank you. Okay, now, on,
Madam Chair, if, I think we need to go back up and vote on approval of the
that's
agenda.
what I thought, didn't they say, okay, approval of agenda?
Yes.
Ready? I need a motion.
Move. Second.
So Felice moved, motion, and Jill second. Roll call.
You need to pull that.
Oh, we need to pull something. I just forgot about that.
I'd like to pull the cell phone policy. Mr. Chairman had leave. And we
So-
also had a new version presented to us just before the meeting, so I'd like to pull that until, I guess,
So that's
July.
9A.
yeah, table it. We're gonna table it. 'cause
Table it.
Mr. Chairman's not here.
But that's 9, under board matters, 9A2, policy number 6.311. We're tabling that.
Yes.
And I don't see 5.2 on here, but what we,
It's not on the agenda. It's only on the discussion.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, the policy, sorry, cell phone is, which one are you talking about?
right, I'm talking about the suspension of.
Those are just on our work session, and
Okay.
the chair did say they were,
We moved them over to have discussion on them under, at the end of board matters.
Right.
Mr. King.
And
is that possible?
we could
That would need
just move it to the next policy meeting if.
Since there was a request for some changes, it needs to go to we'll pull it to the policy
Okay, so
meeting.
you want to table that as well?
Well, we don't have to because that's.
Because it was on the agenda session, right?
Right, so right now, the only,
No, 9.
you're right.
9-2.
But because we didn't actually add it, we would have had to amend to the agenda to add it, but it's not there, so we need to do it.
Okay.
However, may I, for the sake of the record, ask Ms. Haddon, can we amend your motion to strike the cell phone policy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, and Ms. Black, may we think, very good.
Okay, we're good?
We're good. We just need to vote on it now.
Okay. roll
Good
call.
job on putting it away.
Okay. Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
What y'all over there doing?
Question, I'm sorry.
We're voting on the motion?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
I'm gonna separate y'all.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Keane?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater? Ms. Thomas?
Okay, we're good. On to the board disclaimer statement, which would be just for me. I declare that I have a family member who works for the school system and that the board's vote on budget policies, et cetera, may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system. Okay. Consent agenda. So, need a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve?
Second.
And just, we voting? Or
Any
discussion?
discussion?
Right, any discussion? Going once, going twice, vote.
Okay, Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Keane?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater? Ms. Thomas?
Okay, on to administrative business matters. Chief Financial Officer, Mary Ellen, with the SY 26 consolidated funding application approval. Administrative matters. Any,
8A.
Any discussion? Move to approve.
So moved.
I just want to know, because I may not have done my due diligence, what is it? Consolidated funding application approval.
Hold on, we got a
We'll
second.
need a second.
We got a second, then we got a discussion. I move to approve, second. Who second?
Second, I say,
Okay. Now discussion.
I just kind of wanted to know a little bit more about what did that look like?
Yes,
What's that?
I will help you out there. So this is the application for our consolidated application, which has our Title I, Title II, Title IV, IDA, all those basically major federal programs. So we each year have to put an application that lines out our plans. We also submit it through the state, but this is just formal approval of that plan so that we can have that budget in place for the start of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Oh. Ready to vote? Roll call.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Keen?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Okay. Outstanding obligations. Move to approve.
Move to approve. Second. Whichever works.
Wait,
I think, who made the motion? Mr. Groan make the, did you make the motion, Mr. Groan?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Keen?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
yes.
Okay. Chief Operations Officer, Dr. Robert Sharp, bond funded capital projects. Need a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Keen?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Okay, COPS School Violence Prevention Program.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to know can someone tell me a little bit about it?
Ms. Thomas, we're applying for this grant for $500,000, and we are asking in the grant for some supplies to support our school buses with a radio that will be able, where our bus drivers can connect directly with law enforcement. If something occurs out on a route, instead of going through multiple channels, they'll be able to go directly into the law enforcement channel to connect with the bus driver, to connect with law enforcement. And then we're also purchasing some additional equipment, primarily related to our school video cameras for our safety and security department.
Video cameras for what?
For our schools. There's,
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Move to approve.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Keen?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, Soddy Daisy Middle School Architect Selection. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Y'all get that, Bennett? Okay. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Keen?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Okay. Board matters. Under the Chief Strategy Officer, Shannon Moody, we have Policies on first read are 5.3023 paid parental leave and 5.1042 educator diversity. Those are first read. Number 2, we have policies on second and final read, 3.402 special use of school buses. Are we taking these separate or together?
Take them together. I make a
We'll take
move.
them all together? I just thought about that. I'm sorry. I'm out of order, but do we need to do them separately or?
It pleasure of the board.
I move
It-
we
it-
take
it-
them as a group.
There you go.
Okay. All right, so policies on second and final read are 3.402 special use of school buses, 3.405 owner-operator bus services, and 6.201 compulsory attendance. Need a motion?
I think we have a motion for Mr.
I'm
Graham.
sorry.
We
Need a
have a-
second?
Second?
Any discussion? Okay.
I have a question.
Hold on, I got Mr. Connor and Ms. Black. Okay,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Alphabetically, you're first.
I just wanted to clarify that special use of school buses, we're removing this policy. It's not gonna force any, like, our schools to hire private buses for field trips. It is,
No, we've worked with legal team as well. This is still covered under our
It's a redundant.
owner-operator contract and manual. So
Okay.
it's just redundant that we have it in
Okay.
policies. It still exists as verbatim that you see within other areas.
okay, I just wanted to clarify.
It doesn't
Okay.
change anything.
Okay. Any further discussion? Oh, Mr. Connor?
Smart man, let the lady go first. She asked my question. I just wanted to,
Okay.
I got a lot of pings for this, and I just wanted to say that it's covered in a different area. So it's not something we're just getting rid of and don't have a policy. It is covered elsewhere.
Okay. And any further discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater? Yes. Mrs. Thomas?
Okay, item B, Mrs. Schaefer, District 7, TSBA Director of Schools Performance Evaluation Form.
So we talked about this at the policy meeting. And you were provided last year's form along with the TSBA sample form. Our attorneys have merged the two after the policy meeting, and you have a copy there that I passed out. So this is taking the TSBA and put it along with our format already. I believe Mr. Bennett discussed this with Dr. Robertson.
Not till an hour before this meeting, so.
And this too much, this like the SSP. This is too much. I'm not
This-
doing all this about Justin, and I don't care what he wears. I'm just playing. Sorry.
So this is the TSBA. This is what other school boards are doing across the state. This is not pulled out of thin air. This is what they're using as a comprehensive review. And we merged it with the goals that we've already had in here that went along with Plan 2030. So this is the draft that I'm proposing that we use.
What are all the different highlights that you got on here?
That's all the new stuff. That's the TSBA stuff.
So all the non-highlighted are what we,
What we already did.
previously?
Yes.
Let me speak to that if I may, Mr. Schaefer. So the highlights are the thing, the starting point was the TSBA, and then the highlights we incorporated, or rather Ms. DeCamp incorporated from our school board policy and from,
TSBA.
okay, I got it backwards.
So at the beginning part, what's highlighted, some of that's from the TSBA and some of that's from the board policy, our board policy. But then in terms of the body of it, in the different categories, the things that are highlighted are from the TSBA policy.
And we have two paradigms that govern the board's evaluation of the director. One of them is our policy manual, but the other thing is also the director's contract itself. And so there's probably more verbiage in here than we want in a final evaluation format, but we wanted the board to see everything, to see what you're looking at. if it's the pleasure, one of the things that I think that after the conversation I had with Dr. Robertson today, I think it would be beneficial if he had a minute to comment on some of these things, and if it pleases the board, for us to use this rubric, but by and large this rubric, but to tweak it and bring something back in July, because there's some verbiage in here that after thinking about, I'm not sure I like the highlights at the very beginning. We're copying from the policy, but our contract speaks to some specific goals and goal formation that earlier boards thought were very, very important. And I'm going to give you all a little bit of history. Your predecessors put a tremendous amount of emphasis on Dr. Johnson's contract for goal development for him and for this board. And it's a lot of work. And the evaluation process that's envisioned in the contract is a lot of work. And it's proven a little difficult to be faithful toward, in part because the state is later getting back some of the data than when we originally developed this. And so there's some timelines here that I see that are a little wonky. Just so we have a good instrument for you all, I would welcome some comments and some thoughts on this, and I'd like to work with Dr. Robertson and clean this up a little bit, work with Ms. Schaefer and clean this up a little bit. Pardon me. So that we have something in July that's a final that hopefully becomes the rubric that you use next year and the year after next. Because one of the things that Dr. Robertson and I commented on is, last year we were putting the rubric together on the eve of his evaluation, and that's not fair to him. And frankly, it's not fair to the board because it doesn't give you an opportunity to let him know what you're evaluating him on. Does that make sense? Make sense?
Well, didn't we use the same one they had the year before, last year?
No, there were some minor adjustments to it that the chair and I presented to the board.
It's largely the same thing, but his contract envisions that we're going to have, that the board is going to want year-specific goals. And I don't know, it's the pleasure of the board. But I think that...
Can I add the intent of the contract was because the state, like you said, continues to get, and so the language within the contract says like a month or something after receiving all the data that the valuation will be completed.
Right.
I don't think it says a month. This says a reasonable time, right?
It's after. You're right. It's
Go on
after.
here and look to some things that, we can mark some stuff too that we might have some questions about, right?
Absolutely. Fundamentally, this is going to be the board's instrument to tell the director, here's where you're doing great, double down on it. Here's some things that we think that you need to work on. So this needs to be your vehicle for communicating your expectations and your constructive criticism to your director. So he needs to understand what you're saying. And you all, the last thing I want you all to do, honestly, and this is one of my historic criticisms of the TSBA model, is they are all cookie cutters. If you look at the TSBA model for Sequatchie County, it looks very much like the model for Clarksville, Montgomery County, and those counties have nothing alike. So this, if you look at this and it makes sense to you and you don't want to tweak it, you don't need to tweak it. It's great if it's clear to you. But my thought here is, look at this and you think that there's some specifics that you want to drill down on, share them with me, and I'll share them with the director, and we'll get a format that we can all agree on. And likewise, if there's some things that Dr. Robertson thinks that we should include, this is a bilateral conversation. But I agree completely with Ms. Schaefer. It's a conversation for us to have now rather than on the fly on the eve of his evaluation. That's a bit of a haphazard way to do it.
Well, and the policy says July for the evaluation, but as we've just discussed, we have to get the data back, and the contract gives some room. I believe Ms. Moody indicated we should have that maybe by August. So if we come back in July,
More
we have.
like October.
Oh, you trying to use this for this year?
Yeah,
Well, no, because I got, some- I mean, because I get, I think it may be a tool, some of these things we may be able to use. But like, for me, I just see identify, just an example. Identify multiple points of views for problem-solving situation and involve stakeholders in decision affecting the district. So that means, when I look at stakeholders, that means people outside that's making decisions about problems that we may have, situations. And for me, I wouldn't want, because Chattanooga is too political on certain things. So I don't think that's just one. Some of them probably are great, but that would be one that would really concern me, because I would want to know, who are these stakeholders and why do they have a bigger decision-making factor of the district than I do as an elected official. So that's just one of mine that I would probably have a problem with. And maybe I'm reading it wrong, so that's why I'm gonna have my questions.
Sure.
For you to look at it.
And I'll be happy, yeah.
That would be one. Just that, because I don't think anybody should have any more decision-making factors if this board does not.
Well, and the way that I read that
Okay.
is that, and I'll be happy to talk with you and any of you about this, because obviously if it doesn't make sense to you, you're not going to give the director good feedback. So I'm all about helping you with that. But the way I read the consideration of other stakeholders, it's what you, the board, view to be the input of other stakeholders.
So we're the stakeholders.
Well, you are the board.
Right.
You're the board, but you represent the stakeholders. You represent, in your capacity as an elected official, you represent the folks sitting out there. You represent the students in your schools. You represent their parents. You represent your community. So what you believe to be the input of the stakeholders is what matters. So I will commit to getting this cleaned up. And something else that also occurred to me, Ms. Schaefer, is that we probably should clean up our board policy.
Yes.
Because the policy does say July, and because of the state calendar, that's unworkable. And maybe in the policy, we reference the director's contract, or maybe we do something that's a little bit more robust, where we say not later than X date, the board will develop the instrument. Not later than this date, the board will share it with the director, and so on and so forth, so that it dovetails with your contract. It doesn't supplant the contract, but it obligates the board to be more attentive to its follow through.
Mr. King.
And I'd also, I think, to be fair to Dr. Robertson, as I think back on when Dr. Robertson was a principal, Dr. Sharp was a principal, Dr. Brown was a principal. When we came up with our administrative evaluations, which is actually a similar process to this TSBA thing, administrators got a say in the bullets. Not in all of them. There were some that were non-negotiables, and then there's some that, we wanted to make sure. And as I read through some of this TSBA, certain ones refer more to rural counties than what ours are in that. So some of these, I think, he should have a say in which ones we can cross out and which ones we can't. And I hate to say it, but this TSBA one is long and arduous compared to what we were using, and we've got to get it shortened down some. But I think he should be able to have some input in it, especially with the plan of the 2030, to which ones really work toward 2030 off of this and which ones don't.
Mr. King, a little bit of history about that too. We did used to use the TSBA model, and one of the criticisms was that it was long, but the deeper criticism was that it didn't go deep. And so in 2016, this board worked to develop a shorter but much more meaty evaluation. And what subsequent boards discovered is that was a lot of work too. Because trying to come up with the goals and the objectives, and then to sit down and that work was done on the front end. And so, we literally had hours, and Ms. Jones may remember this, but we had 3 nights in a row where we were developing an evaluation format for Dr. Johnson before we hired Dr. Johnson. Yes. And it was, I think we put 9 hours into developing a format built around our strategic plan. It's a lot of work, but I think this board's often said that the most important things that you do are hire a director, fund a program so that the director can get his job done, and then you evaluate your director. It's part and parcel of, it's a lot of work.
But I just, as a final thing, I remember as an administrator, because I had a say in what I was being evaluated on, I had that buy-in, and I always felt like it was a fair tool to use to evaluate myself. And that's, we want to be fair, so.
Mr. Grown?
Thank you. This is really wordy, and I would really want, Dr. Robertson, your input, because we want to dig deeper, but we don't want to make it like we want to reach the other side of the world. This is off the charts, and it's hard enough as it is to really dig into the data, and then especially Mrs. Moody, when some of the data that is presented is available to us. Have they ever gotten it by July?
No.
Sometimes in October. So
And I just pulled up the TDOE timeline. We'll have things like TBOS earlier this year by August. Their timeline is August 1st. Things like school grades are going to always be in December. So there's a long timeline of how things are released.
School letter grades come even later. So we need work on this. So
We will. Okay. Do it.
Ms. Haddon?
Since we are in control of the school letter grades, I'm just curious what takes them so long to get that information.
Oh, we're not in control of school letter grades. The state does
Well,
that.
When they say school letter grades, they're meaning like when they say
An A
Haddon
school or
Elementary
B
is an
school,
A.
yeah.
Okay.
Jones Elementary is an A+. No, I'm just playing.
But we
Okay, I get it.
discredited those
Just
so
that kind of
much.
thing.
Are we even using those in this?
People use them when they're moving into town.
Yes, they do, but we had
I'm
a lot of talk about these school grades this year. So are we even using those as a data criteria?
Oh, I think that's a discussion to have, just the timeline, and I'll send that to you. Goes as far as December.
I thought it was said that that's a different formula of kind of how
It
that,
is.
that they use to get the letter grades
It
than
is.
versus what we do, right? So,
I don't think that Ms. Moody is saying we got to wait till December. I think she's making the point of it's really difficult to predict when
When you're gonna
all the
get
data
that
is
back.
coming in. I mean, I'll go back and I'll say what I said from the beginning, agree with Ms. Schaefer and Mr. Bennett here. We should have a form evaluation that is set in the next month, regardless of if the data comes back in August, September, October. And I'll just repeat what Scott said, is like, I think we can get this cleaned up, bring it back, not even wait till July, get it in front of you all so you've got time to look at it, make any adjustments before July meeting, can vote on it. I looked at my contract, it says 30 days. The self-evaluation will come to you within 30 days of receiving the data, and then the evaluation has to happen within 30 days of that self-evaluation, right? And so if we agree in July that we're not going to use letter grades, we're just going to use achievement grades, value added, then that timeline is shortened. But if we have it done in July, then we know what timeline we're looking at, and as soon as that data comes in, that starts the 30 days for the self-evaluation, 60 days for the, evaluation.
I have a question. We collect lots of data, ourselves.
We do.
Can any of that be utilized? Because that's
you
like,
wanted to
There was
make it-
some in it in the previous evaluation. I haven't looked fully through this, but I saw a couple of places of where there's things that we have available, on our own anyway. I don't think all of it is for sure not coming from state data.
So I think it's very important that as we develop this tool, that, one, of course, Dr. Robertson does have Mr. King is correct. He does have a right to review it and give input. It has to be a board decision, so this is a great, start. But if Jackie comes back in 3 days with a different tool, then we have to look at that one too. And if I decide to go home Friday and chat GPT it and come back with that, that's a tool too. And if everybody else did that, then there's 11 tools. So I just want to make sure that we understand that just because this has been presented today doesn't mean that this is a tool that we have to work with, Dr. Robertson has to work with, and or Scott on behalf of us. If there are other things that people want to present, you have the right to do that too, which is why Mr. Bennett said it does become a very tedious measure. Also, keeping in mind the last time I do remember when we did this with Dr. Johnson, we did it prior to his contract, him coming in. He had some goals and things that he wanted to be put in place. I mean, that was part of the piece there. But Dr. Highlander at that time was our chair, and he was very integral in the discussion between Mr. Bennett and the superintendent at that time on behalf of the board. So he was taking in comments from the board that way, and that's typically how that goes because the chair speaks for the board. And so typically you funnel your concerns in through the chair, and then it kind of makes it easier than it was 9 of us then. I can't imagine having I can't imagine 11 people with a lot of things these days, but that's a lot with 11 people doing all of that. So I think if you do have concerns or you do have suggestions or you see this and you see a correction, maybe we could make this into something. Well, the district don't use Google Docs, but I mean, if you did Google Docs, you could make editable versions.
I think we can do it.
Can you do Google Docs? Can you do Google Docs where people can suggest edits?
I know people who can do Google Docs.
Okay, so maybe we could, I can do Google Docs, but I'm not volunteering to do that because I don't get paid to be bust like you.
If I may make a suggestion, Madam Chair, you're right. I could have 11 formats. That's not really a good place to start from. If I may make a suggestion, one of the reasons that Ms. Schaefer wanted to give us something to work from is the policy chair. She's looking at the policy and she's seeing we need to be doing this. And so I appreciate her getting the ball rolling. My request, and I understand that this is not a perfect format, but Mary tried to merge the document from TSBA with our past document. If I could ask the board to approve this as the starting point, then what I can do with Dr. Robertson's input, and listening to each of you, I can pare back some of the things that may be more appropriately applied to smaller systems. I can pare back some of the verbosity that concerns Mr. Groan.
Okay.
But if the board would approve this as a starting point, then that way I don't have 11 helpful suggestions from the board.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? We feel like we've had a lot. But any discussion?
I just think the rubric is what's throwing everybody, because it makes it look like it's more the other form that we had
Didn't have a rubric.
But
didn't
they
appear
removed
to
the
be
rubric.
so overwhelming. I mean, that's the only thing, but no, I'm good. I ain't finna bring y'all nothing, because I ain't finna go through all that.
Okay, so roll call?
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Daugherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yeah.
Ms. Haddon?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes, making sure that we're saying that this is the initial draft.
This is the starting point.
Okay.
The motion is that this is the starting point.
All right, yes.
Mr. Keene?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater? Ms. Thomas?
Yes, I think that's what I'm supposed to be saying.
Okay,
This is all this yellow.
we got everybody?
Yeah.
All righty, Mr. Connor, District 6, values-based investment, FY '26.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the tabled item from last month, talking about the budget. I'll go ahead and pass it down. There's not enough. This is also on the agenda, and I've emailed this out to everybody. Because it was tabled, it's able to revisit and look at it, and so I recognized that it was not as palatable the way that it was presented last month, but it's still something that's important. I get conversation parts all the time from both elected officials and community members of what would be the next on, where, if there's somebody from an outside source that wants to help fund the schools in some way, if there's a one-time funding availability from someone, where do we go? And the reason that I've done it in the manner that it is, sorry, Joe, let me borrow yours. So if you all are looking at it on the front page, you've got the first three, call them important things. I specifically picked these three to be there because they total the $11 million that we can remember back 2 budgets ago, now 3, for the first time since I was in grade school. Hamilton County did not choose to give us the growth money and took $6 million back from our budget. 2 years ago, or the last budget, there was a $5 million discrepancy that was pulled out. So we are essentially short $11 million in our maintenance effort from balanced budgets that we sent to our commissioners. So that's why I picked $11 million to put on the front. On the back are other items that we discussed throughout the course of the budget season, items that were needed, including, I listened and heard Steve talking about the coaches' stipends. So those are added in there. And then, because, I'm nice like that, I put a little worksheet. So at the bottom, you guys have scratch paper to add through and think of different things that how you would add them or how you would put them in. So the discussion here is, can we pass a list that is official from this board of, if there was more money, this is how we would spend it? And the reason I think that it's important, and has been shared with me as well, is that doing it officially and this board coming together and voting on it to say these are the items that are of value to us, it gives other parties a starting point. Not just our county commission, not just the city council of Chattanooga or other places, but other philanthropic organizations that may choose to give us a one-time donation. This is an important document to showcase what we as a board think is important, again, if there was more money. So that's why I'm presenting it today, and I will gladly answer any questions about it or allow discussion throughout.
Okay, Mr. Daugherty.
Thank you. I guess I just want to be on the same page. Mr. Connor, we presented our budget, and then Dr. Robertson just walked through it again, and I believe the county commission is going to be voting on it as early as next week, if I'm not mistaken. So just want to be on the same page. This is a separate entity in and of itself outside of the budget that's already been presented and handed to the county commission.
Mm-hmm. To say again differently, this is us as a board saying, not me, not somebody calls you up and say, hey, if there was another $1 million, where would you spend it?
Yeah.
This is this board saying, if there was another $1 million, we'd do this.
Yeah.
And if there was 2, we'd do this.
And is your intent on, so I'm on the same page with you, and I think this is important. At the very least, it provides a collaborative input from us so that we are in a position to move quickly if something does become available. So I'm with you on that. Is your intent to have just a general discussion about what's important to each specific board member, or do you want us to utilize this function here and take it to a general?
I was prepared for anything after last month, so that's what the worksheet is for.
Yeah.
My intention is to pass it as it's written,
Yeah.
And remove the worksheet unless we thought that was something important for the powers that be to have as well. I included the worksheet in case there were items that board members felt they didn't want to put their voice to. Like, for instance, let's just say that somebody completely disagrees with my illustrious co-member from District 1 and said there's no reason for coaches' stipends to be included in here. Then we could remove it. But I think that it should be included, which is why I put it on here as something to be noted. That is an item that we've discussed and an item that's important to this board if there was funding available.
Go ahead, Jackie.
I wanted to know more about this compensation study phase, because I see where there's like a step in longevity increase, and then I also saw where it was some 2% educational raise. There were a couple of different things, but like they would get that. But I wanted to know more about that compensation study phase 1.
Absolutely. So I'll go in reverse order. And the first thing is the steps in longevity is the step increases that we have talked about that are in the contract we've signed with the Teachers Association. That's the first one. The second one is the educational raises was part of the discussion as well, the 2% across the board.
So they would go together, those two, really. The educational raises along with the step. It's two separate, but I'm saying,
They should be separate.
okay.
But then the reason I did this in reverse order was the first one and the last one you mentioned was talking about the study. And I do want Shannon to say, because in the last meeting, she mentioned a little bit about the study, and I want to defer to you all to use the right words to explain that study.
Because does the study give raises too? I guess that's what, if the compensation study comes back and say that they deserve to make even more money. So it's like all of these things on here are raises. That's how I'm looking at it, and I want to make sure that's the way I should be looking at it.
Yeah, so the compensation study is where we've done the analysis with an outside company looking at where jobs are placed compared to the market. And so there might be places where, like psychologists, we look at them towards a study and we're like,
Competitive salary.
there's a difference between where that's compared to the rest of other positions. And so it would be, there's separate raises, but there are certain positions where we need to make adjustment based on that compensation study. It's also changing some structure. And I think we're looking for a time to present that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking at time to actually present the study, because we've been going through, and again, there's a lot of market study, job descriptions, all that, but just an estimate is kind of do the first phase, which is basically getting everyone onto this new structure that looks at and kind of reclassifies certain positions to say this is where they should be, because the market for this position is a lot different than this position, in places where we have trouble recruiting or retaining staff, because outside markets are a lot different than kind of how our current structure is. And then the other things are, the 2%, that's more like a cost of living, and the steps are something that sets up for a year of experience. We have a current, table that says another year as a teacher moves you up this level. And some of them, again, our current one does have some places where they get, the funds in advance, and it's not, there might be some years where there aren't adjustments.
I think it's important to be clear that $5 million is the estimate of what it would take to implement that phase 1 of the study. It's not the cost of an actual study. The study's been completed. But let's say in this scenario that $5 million in funding came, you guys would still have to approve implementing that phase 1 of the study. This was a recommendation from us, and again, it's really difficult positions to, school psychologist is a good one, but it's also a lot of our maintenance, like HVAC techs that were competing against major companies to keep them. And so you'll see that study hopefully, and we can go ahead and probably send it to you in the next few days, even before having that meeting in July. But the $5 million would be to implement it. But even if we got $5 million, you would still have to vote to approve to implement the study.
And let me real quick right at this moment say that it's important to note that as this is a list and not a budget that we're sending, we've sent a budget. This is just a list. So it is absolutely possible that whomever takes this list and chooses to be philanthropic with us picks what they like in one item. I think it's important that all of these are on there. Speaking just to the parts of the raises, the first two are things that we've done in the past. We've done step raises and we've done cost of living increases. That's been kind of standard operating procedure for the board, as it should be with any business, to take into account cost of living increases and standard raises for people who deserve and earn them. But the last part is it's not the first study we've done before. These are things that go on throughout the course of history and throughout the course of any good business. So again, I think it's important that they are all there so that we can showcase all of them. I don't think that it is by any means being ungrateful, because it is not something that we're saying this is part of our budget. We're saying specifically, this is a list of things that would really help us do our job better.
Okay. Mr. King?
Yeah, so my question, before I make my comment, is the 1, 2, and 3 a hierarchy of importance? And if so, who?
It was to me, and I'm kind of like when we were talking about the facilities plan, we ranked them, but then once the funding came through fully, we took the rankings off and we just did everything.
So I'm gonna make a suggestion. We move 2 up to 1.
Okay.
Because it was mentioned by the commission chairman, and it was echoed by 3 other commissioners yesterday. That particular one, the step and longevity increases, they really would like to see that back in place. Whether, whether they provide that money or not, they're at least seeing that this one is important for our teachers, so.
I absolutely, I think that 1 and 2 are almost interchangeable. The reason I put 1 the way I did is it was physical people who were already in buildings and losing them. And that's why it was important to me. But they're interchangeable to me, so I would be fine with that.
Right, and I'm just voicing, and, it's, Dr. Robertson, you can chime in or not, I don't know. I just remember him saying that, and I remember 3 other, within that discussion.
I mean, if
3
you're
other-
asking my opinion, I would say,
Leave it the other way.
no,
Oh.
no, I would agree with you. I would go
Okay.
step, and then I would probably almost go like, put a 1% raise even before the, 0.5 back to schools, but that's just my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I was very surprised when you brought that up, because we didn't bring that up.
I mean, it came up
was-
in, maybe, I mean, it was a long budget process.
Right, it was a long.
It may have come up in some individual conversations, but it certainly came up. Step increases historically, I think what happens is, over the past 5, 6 years, it's always just happened. But historically, it hasn't been guaranteed, and there have been plenty of years past where it didn't. I mean, you know this, you've been in the district longer than I have, that step increases didn't occur. But I would agree that that should be top priority.
Okay.
Okay, Mrs. Hatton.
Yeah, one reason why I guess I've been so active in the budget too is the fact that we weren't giving our teachers step raises. And, as a former teacher and then hearing from teachers, that's just very unsettling to me. But I know that we were able to get the 2,000 bonuses from the governor, and we supplemented some, so that took some of the sting out of it, but that's definitely a priority. Since we added like 2 non-teaching positions just a couple of years ago, I'm okay with reducing a half. I'm not saying which position, I'm just thinking at the principal's discretion. Let's see. Personally, maybe I'm a tightwad, but, I don't like spending $5 million on a study. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's my feeling.
It's, again, it's not honest.
Implement
Yeah.
the recommendations of
It's
that
not-
we've
Study's already been
done.
paid for.
Okay, so implement. Okay.
Those are raises.
I
So-
guess I just need more information on it.
So basically
Just for,
this.
at a later date, just learn more about what the
Yeah,
implementation
and just,
is.
I mean, it's a set aside of an estimate of the, it's actually, when we see who's here, how it affects individual people, but it's kind of an estimate based on like some initial information we got from the compensation study to kind of put everybody on the new schedule.
Right.
That's our estimate to kind of do that it would fix some compression issues. It's a variety of things like that.
Does it have like
First
number of employees and types of positions and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, it would, but then again, we've had, next year we'll have new teachers coming off on us, so the actual, what it looks like, again, when you see lots of zeros, it's a round number estimate, but based on the initial information. If we
Okay.
applied it at that time, it's kind of what it would look like to put all those people on kind of the recommended schedule.
Okay. Like I said,
And I-
right or wrong, I wasn't
Yeah.
sure
Yeah,
if
yeah.
I was right or wrong on that one. Let's see, capital maintenance, I know we probably need $1 million for that, but so I'd vote for, well, that is $1 million. We probably need $10 million. I'm always for the educator raises, coaches stipends. I'm not sure about the number 3, student support staff back at central office, because I'm more for having supports in the schools. And I'm even thinking some more through community superintendents, maybe allocate there. So that's my opinion on that.
I just want to
Okay.
be clear, so you did say you'd rather do people in the buildings, not at central office, but you did still support cutting the 0.5 positions in schools?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did.
Okay. Excuse me. Mr. Slater?
Okay, just one quick question. Is this something that we would have Dr. Robertson present to the commission?
So this exact document, after it was added to the agenda, the commissioners have already seen it. They have not, they know that it's not approved, but they know that it was going to be on our agenda. So I didn't answer your question. I don't think so, but what I would do is send it over to the commissioners and anybody else that asked and say, this has been approved by the board. This is our list of things that we would love to have if there was more money.
Okay.
I'm not answering it the way you want. Do you want it presented or do you
No.
not? Okay.
No, I do not. We've presented a budget, and I don't think we ought to present them with anything else.
Okay.
That's my
Well,
opinion.
if we pass this, it would need to be something that's like, hey, this is our document of things that would be great if there was more funding.
And can I clarify, reinstate the .5, I'd be all for it if it was a regular education teacher.
Okay, Mrs. Schaefer.
I like Santa wish lists, so it's like a Christmas list to me. And I do agree with moving the step raises up to number 1, and kind of inverting that. The compensation study brought me back to something that I kind of want to circle back to the evaluation. Because we paid for this compensation study, we also paid for a Gallup poll, right? About $90,000.
Yes.
So can we add, because we haven't seen that. And when we have not seen the Gallup poll,
We can get it to you tomorrow.
so the board needs to see that, and, because it's part of some of those evaluation criterias.
I'm sorry, Jody, what's your request? I'm sorry, I wasn't.
The Gallup poll, the school system paid for a Gallup poll, and we haven't seen the results as a board.
We just recently got it back. We'll get it sent to you tomorrow.
Okay, so I just wanted to circle back to that, but
Okay.
I like the inverting, Ben, of the 1 and 2, and I'm good with that.
Ms. Jones, if we're sitting here going through, I would recommend the number 3, the 2.5 back to central office, that we completely strike that.
The 2.5 student
Percent.
support staff.
Yeah.
Then in the interest of helping time, I'm going to make a motion. Can I do that on my own thing? Scott?
Well, wait a minute.
Okay.
Hold first. Mr. Grown has something to say.
Okay, well, let
And
me.
then after that.
Is that it?
He's
The only people-
the last
okay.
comment, and then we can roll back your way. Go ahead, Mr. Grown.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. We've had a lot of discussion, every year we have a discussion about raises, and I have spoken numerous times about across-the-board raises. And you can all look that up, but it causes discrepancies which would not be pleased with over a long period of time. So I have lots of reasons. I have a main reason about across the board raises. If we're going to do raises, I think the raises ought to be with those individuals who are in our schools and are dealing with our students and trying to provide them with a safe and excellent educational environment, rather than across the board raises. So that's just my thing. To me, this is, it seems a little overdone. It's like this has already been spoken about for several months. It's already been decided upon with a balanced budget, which the county commission asked us for. This seems like, we want to somehow put public pressure on the county commission to consider raising taxes in order to meet our Christmas wish list. I just don't think that's the right direction to go in. I can't vote for this.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Connor?
So to put a bow on this, and again, to say that I think that a list of items, not just to the commission, but to anyone, again, I'm saying that would choose to be philanthropic with us, which we have some amazing partners in business and in nonprofits that look out for our schools. So giving them direction has been the number one thing that I've been hearing, and talking about this I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about giving a list. So I'm going to make a motion to try to tie this all up. Bear with me, the motion will be three-parted. And just write that down. The motion will be three-parted. The third part will sound long, but it will not be. So I make a motion to strike B side number 3, to move A side number 2 to number 1, and vice versa, and then to consolidate all items onto the front page in this order. 1, step and longevity increases. 2, reinstate the 0.5 positions in our schools. 3, the compensation studies payout, if you will, of getting people paid where they should be, based on the study. Number 4, 2% educator raises. 5, capital maintenance. 6, coaching stipends.
I second
Thank you.
your motion.
And to approve it.
So it has been moved by Mr. Connor and properly seconded by Mrs. Schaefer. Any more discussion? Mr. Grown, what you want?
I want a definition of educator. When we say educator, what is that definition?
Oh, okay.
I'll
That's
defer.
fair.
I mean, this is 2% for everyone, because we all are educators. I mean, so I think that was
That means
terminology.
certified and classified,
Yes.
everybody.
Yeah, I don't think that would be, I don't think the intent on
Okay.
that
Well,
amount of
now,
money was.
there is a question of that. So when you say that educator, are you meaning like
Just teachers?
teachers? Like licensed okay, so I'm finna play devil's advocate here. Thanks, Miss Self. She's probably watching, Mrs. Gardner.
2%, it's everybody.
So that 2% is everybody. So from my behavior specialist, okay, that's all I want to
To
make
the
sure.
bookkeeper, to the secretary.
The bookkeeper, the secretary,
Yeah.
everybody.
The only two people y'all remember that we always have to go back and
It's
talk
cafeteria.
about is cafeteria staff and SACC.
SACC. Ooh, they deal with my child. They need a record. My kid goes to SACC.
I will say, personally, whenever I say educator, I do mean what they just said.
Okay, I just want to make sure of that, because for me, that's always a thing, because I know okay. All right.
Okay,
Did that
so-
answer your question, Mr. Groom?
So we're clear for the record, because the governor's definition of educator was very different from what I've just heard.
Right.
So I want to
That's
be
why I
sure
was
that the record is clear. Mr. Connor's motion for 2% raise for educator, it's really
For all
2%
staff.
raise for all HCS employees except for,
I think the easiest way to say it is the way that this board has already defined educator, by accepting to pay the extra money to pay out the $2,000 bonuses.
Got it. Okay.
So those, everyone that we deemed an educator in that should be considered an educator in this. Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Brown.
and Ms. Schaefer, you agree with that as,
So are we just gonna say, are we saying HCS staff,
Would say employee.
employee, with the exemption of this? We've always said those that are like self-funded,
Yeah.
which is cafeteria and SACC.
And we typically go back and fix those.
And we
other
typically go back and adjust
funded.
that, right? You're correct. But those programs are self-sustaining, so that's why we don't do it that way, okay? For the public record and board record. Okay,
thank you for that clarification.
all righty. Moving right along.
We need
Roll
that.
call.
Oh,
Vote on it.
roll call.
All right, would you like me to restate it,
Yeah.
just for
Go
the
ahead.
record? Okay. So the motion is, number 1, to strike number 3 on the B side on page 2, which is 2.5% of student support staff back at central office. That's number 1, to strike that. Number 2, on the A side, page 1, to move number 2, step and longevity increases, to number 1. And number 3 is to consolidate everything onto one page in this order. Number 1, step and longevity increases. Number 2, reinstate .5 positions in schools. Number 3, the compensation study payout. Number 4, 2% employee raises based on the definition that was just discussed. Number 5, capital maintenance. And number 6, coaches' stipends.
That's all I got.
That's the motion.
All right.
Okay. Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
No.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Keene?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
No.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
8-2, motion carries.
All righty.
Thank you, fellow board members.
Now, at our work session, there was discussion of the board agenda that we did not get to finish, and we said that we would move it over until, to the end of this discussion, and those are the budget, phase 2 of $60 million bond, policies 5.200 and policy 5.201. Are we still doing that? Is that the pleasure of the board?
No, the bond,
The bond already
We gonna
voted
move-
on.
the bond we voted.
Well, I'm just, listen.
I'm sorry, yeah.
That what y'all said, y'all wanna talk about this stuff.
To the policy meeting.
So we moving into the policy meeting. I'm okay with that. Say less.
Yeah, the cell phone policy, the,
I mean, I know we moving the cell phone policy, but the suspension and
Yeah.
dismissal of non-tenured teachers and of tenured teachers was still out there. So we're moving that to policy, correct, Mr. King?
Yes.
Yes.
That is,
Okay, and then the phase 2 of the $60 million bond, we're good with that.
we already
We voted on it.
yes.
Okay, I'm just,
I don't want to do that.
thank you.
5.2 is very important to me.
Oh, okay, so you want to still discuss it? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
but we didn't, right?
We didn't at the beginning.
What the discussion was whether to add it to the agenda, and then the board didn't add it to the agenda.
I thought
So
we
it's-
just moved it to board matters.
But we didn't vote to do it when we
Mr.
did the
Smith
agenda.
said to do it, but then in the interim, there was some discussion during the break about not doing it, about deferring it to a later date.
and as
And
we,
so when the board voted to approve the agenda,
It was not in
it
there.
left those matters off.
because Ms. Moody would like time to see what, so, now make sure I state this correct.
We might have an answer for you all.
So she wanted time to understand, was the Cobra insurance the same as what the teacher was already carrying? And also, what are the payments? So
Yep.
we were giving her time.
At a very high level, Mr. King, yes, that's basically correct. We're working on a way to address your concern about the insurance.
But point of procedure, not that I wouldn't want to talk about it, but since we didn't choose to vote to add it, it's a moot point.
It's a moot point unless the board wants to amend the
Now.
agenda now
So
and add it back.
Mr. Slater could make a
He
motion
could.
to add discussion
Good.
and get a second.
I'll make that motion and I'll be very brief with it.
I'll second that.
Is it the motion to add 5.200 and 5.201
Yes.
back? Okay.
Yeah.
So board matters. You got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Groan?
Yep.
Mrs. Haddon?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Keene?
Yes?
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
There you go, Mr. Slater.
Okay. Thank you very much. This past year, I've had 2 teachers suspended from the same school. Both times, they were taken out through the main hall, and out the front door, in front of students and coworkers. What I would like is for Mr. Bennett to somehow put in this policy 5.200 that we treat these suspended teachers with a little bit more dignity and respect. take them out a side door after school hours or something, because to me, that, the way that was handled is just not acceptable. Told you I'd be brief. So, I mean, that's my suggestion, and I think we need to amend that, at least take them out a back door, after school, or something, because it was very embarrassing, and in neither case, these teachers were found guilty of anything, so.
Can we bring that back in July on the first read?
Hold on. I know, but I got people on the top. Ben, you got something to say?
As somebody that seconded, I very much look forward to hearing about the insurance part of it and the other things, but I think that this is a very difficult conversation for obviously the situation that
Right.
Mr. Slater's explaining, but equally situations that we know have happened. So I think this will be a really interesting conversation, but I think that we need to make sure that we do our diligence to this subject.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes, I just think there needs to be a policy overall that states we need to be treating everyone with dignity and respect, and therefore you wouldn't have to kind of add it to that. It just needs to be a separate policy, because I think for me, the culture needs to change where people need to really understand they need to treat people right. As Mr. Slater said, no matter, because you're really innocent until you're proven guilty. But I agree with that, but I would love to see it totally, it could be in that, but I would like to see a total separate policy regarding how we treat each other, because that's one of the little headlines. Everybody matters, everybody's valued, all of that. So I would like to see if it doesn't already exist, and I know that would probably be in policy, that a policy is created addressing just that issue.
We can look into that.
Okay, so there, I know, it might not say those exact words, but I know there is somewhere in one of our policies, it talks about acting in a manner of professionalism.
Rights and responsibilities.
Right, I knew it was somewhere. I mean, I've slept a lot over the last
But
11 years.
we could put something specific in on the suspension aspect that underscores that we're to be mindful of the dignity of the employee or something like that. I think that the administration does a very good job with that, but Mr. Slater's concerns resonate. We'll find some language.
Okay, so sounds like, well, just tear up your Owala.
That was a gong.
So,
Gavel out the meeting, we're done.
attention. So, sounds like we're going to, Mr. Bennett and, Miss, Lord Jesus. Mayor and Scott gonna work on some verbiage. They're gonna get with Shannon. And, we will revisit this at the next policy meeting for reading, Mr. Slater, to ensure that we are, to make sure that we are ensuring that all staff of Hamilton County Schools is being treated with dignity and respect in any instance of interaction. And so we will move forward with that and, have that discussion with Ms. Jody. Other than that, we have some events. Thursday, June 19th is Juneteenth. It's a holiday and central office is closed. So do not come up here looking for nothing, because ain't nobody gonna be here. Everybody's gonna be at home. It's a holiday. And then it has Thursday, July 17th is the board meeting. Is that right? The 17th? Why I gotta see y'all again? I just say it today.
Can we make a motion to cancel?
I'm sorry, July 17th. Lord have mercy. Okay, and then the next one, I'm tired. Let's start over.
Just so I can see you on the 7th.
Events, Thursday, first of all, that wouldn't even be Thursday. Thursday, June 19th is a holiday. Juneteenth, central office is closed. And then Thursday, July 17th is our next board meeting. In between that time, if any other committee meetings are to come, the board will be notified via email or however we do that as normal. All hearts and minds clear?
One more thing. I told you, it's very brief. July the 5th at Saudi Lake, we have a 4th of July celebration. And for the public out there, I will be in the dunk tank
What time?
at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock.
How much are the tickets?
I don't know, but it's to raise money for the Trojan Fund, and I don't see anybody in this room. I'm
This
not
is
even
for
gonna
the
bring a
Trojan Fund for
towel,
the
so
school?
you can't dunk me. So But if anybody wants to try, Dr. Robertson, knock
I got a
yourself out.
professional baseball player beside you, Mr.
Yeah, I'm
Brown.
going to be there, and it's my birthday, and it's going to be my pleasure to dunk him every
Okay.
time I can.
So your birthday is July the
Mr.
15th?
Grown, I'll contribute $10
Okay.
to your.
So,
2 p.m.
with that being
It's in the
said, good night, John Boy. Good night,
Good night,
Mother.
George.
Good night. Good night. Good night.